everyone. Today we're here in the Foreign Language Major building.
And we're going to ask some questions to a few students.
To give a little big context about today's podcast.
Hello, for our first interview, we have Melanie Lopez, an English teacher. Hi, Melanie, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Fine. So, the first question is what is assessment?
Assessment is a process we make in order to know what are our students' needs, and it's not about grading. We don't need to add any numbers. It's about seeing what are the kind of learner that our students need in order to create a class.
Okay, perfect. And why is assessment important for you?
As I just said, it's because we need to know what are our students' needs, so we can create the class, and we can also make a more fulfillment classroom, because it is going to be according to our students' needs, and also it could make very much of improvements because of this. We can apply it in
Okay,
our classroom.
according of what you just said, what kind of assessment strategy do you prefer to use in your classes?
Mm, there are so many, but I really like questionnaires and checklist. With checklist, I can see what the kind of things I need to know about them, and with questionnaires as well. But I can also understand better what are our students are learning or have learned.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
For the next interview, we're here with David. David, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. What about you?
Perfect. Okay, the first question is what is assessment?
Okay, I don't know if the answer you're looking for, but for me, assessment is a process in another process. For example, people might think assessment is the final part of the class, but for me, you can assess people from the very beginning. It's a process in which is useful for seeing what are the features or characteristics of your classrooms, not only in the way of the knowledges, but also the procedimental procedures, I guess, or something like that.
Okay. And why do you think it's important?
Yeah, it's important because people might think that you have a group of people for teaching is the same activities for every single group, but it's not true. You need to see, to observe what are the difference, what are the levels, what are the different skills in every group. And one way to know that is by doing an assessment at the beginning of the class or at the beginning of the year. So you can assess in almost all the process, but for me, the diagnostic assessment is the better way to know what are you going to do with this group of people.
Okay, and if you were a teacher right now, what kind of assessment strategy would you use?
That is a tough question, but I am big fan for doing the assessment at the end of the class. I know it's not a popular point of view, but for me, it's a little bit unfair when you say the student you are be evaluated all the time because people get nervous. For me, if you say something like, I'm watching what is your behavior all during the class or in the year, it's fine. But at the end, you need to say, it's at the end, you need to get a grade. And the people can be relaxed all the year and prepare for the final assessment.
Okay, thank you for your input. Hello, today we are here with Victor and we are going to ask him a few questions. Hi, Victor, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What about you?
Fine, perfectly. Okay, first question is what is assessment?
Assessment. we can consider assessment as a process in which a teacher recollects information about a student and their performance.
Okay, and why do you think assessment is important?
Well, assessment is very important because it allows the teacher to learn and understand how their students are learning. Like, are they learning better by reading, by listening, by talking? Do they do better with task-based learning, etc.? That's the usefulness of it.
And if you were a teacher, what assessment strategies would you use?
Assessment strategies. Well, I could say we could go to the easy ones like a test or an exam, but I'd rather be more centered around task-based learning strategies so I can see a more holistic development of the student rather than just simple stuff or just plain qualifications.
Perfect, thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Assessment Lab. I'm your host Odalys, and today we are dissecting a word that makes most students' hearts race. Assessment. And today I'm here with the full crew, Valeria, Danieska, and Andrea.
And today we have a series of tweets that have been left by our followers who are wondering about the different aspects of evaluation. Valeria, can you read the first one?
First tweet by Sophia Note asks, am I the only one that thought evaluation was the worst thing to happen to a student?
Honestly, no. When I was in school, I used to see a red pen and think game over. But now we've learned that it's actually a pedagogical resource. It's not about catching someone failing, but more about see what can improve from students. And it can be scary, of course, but it's for the best in the long run.
So the next follower, Julie Needs Coffee, asks, what is the difference between measurement, grading, and assessment?
According to our foundations, measurement is collecting numerical data about a performance. It's like when a student gets an 8 out of 10 in a test, and grading is just like judging if that's enough or not, based on a scale to classify scores.
Right, but assessment is the big picture, is qualitative and involves the professional judgment to evaluate the whole process. For example, in our English classes, we shouldn't just measure grammar. We also have to assess if they can interact and communicate in a real context.
So it's integral, right? Because you not only assess the students, you also assess the teachers, the methods, the environment, and it's like, well, like playing detective, but instead of finding and punishing the criminal, the goal is to solve the mystery on how to learn better, right?
I love that detective analogy. But now, on to the next. The user Vygotsky Lover says, teachers giving one final exam and calling it assessment, when assessment is supposed to be continuous the whole process. Eye emoji.
So true. It must be continuous, systematic, efficient, and objective. And if it's not systematic, it's just random guess and serves little to no purpose.
And you know, continuous is a keyword. If you assess until the end, you're wasting potential for improvement. If you do it throughout, you'll be preventive.
Yeah, kind of GPS, you know? If the GPS tell you that you missed the X two streets ago, is useless.
So you need to tell you now so you can make the right decision. And that's the power of the feedback.
And about feedback, the next bit says, diagnostic assessment makes so much sense because how are teachers supposed to teach without knowing what students already know first? Thinking about it.
I totally agree. Diagnostic function is essential. Imagine trying to teach the present perfect without knowing if the students master the simple past. It's like building a skyscraper on sand. For the next tweet, @Laurel_process says, what are the main modalities of formative assessment and how does each of one help improve the teaching learning process?
The main modalities are retroactive, proactive, and interactive. They are used to regulate and improve the teaching learning process.
Yes, interactive assessment happens during the class itself. Retroactive assessment happens after a class or activity or task. Proactive assessment focuses on preventing problems before they happen.
Great. So the next tweet says, Camila, what is this asks? Not me discovering that assessment can be qualitative too. School emoji.
Exactly. Assessment is not only quantitative, because it also considers attitude, responsibility, participation, effort, and teamwork during the learning process.
Yeah, you're right. Also, it should help to identify both weakness and strengths so teachers can improve the teaching strategies to support their students,
Yeah, which means that assessment, it must be personalized to every classroom. You have to respect the different reading times, learning times. You cannot assess every child with the same rigid timeline, and even more if you know that everyone has a different prior knowledge,
Well, one of the topics of difference among students is ask. Should students participate actively in assessment or should assessment remain only in the teacher's hands? Thinking emoji.
Actually, the teacher is fundamental in the assessment process, but it's not the only actor. The students should also participate because if they reflect on their own progress, they become aware of their strengths, weaknesses, and needs.
Yeah, so that can make assessment more meaningful and less stressful, right?
It also encourages responsibility. If the students participate more actively through self-assessment or peer assessment, they stop seeing assessment as a punishment and start seeing it as an opportunity to improve.
But maybe I'm thinking too much into this, but peer evaluation is fun and it's alright, but what happens is if someone tries to fail someone they hate, maybe they try to fail their ex-boyfriend or their ex-best friend. I think that's why there exists clear assessment criteria so that students know what they should assess, and that way there's more transparency.
Por cierto, un saludito a los talleres. ¡Amo a tu usuario!
We love it, baby. Now, @Lily_words asks, does continuous assessment reduce students' anxiety by giving content feedback? Or can it create even more pressure?
I think it's
how a assessment is applied. If it's supportive and constructive, it can be reduced the anxiety because the students receive guidance throughout the process. It will help the students know their process little by little instead of facing the pressure in one final exam.
That's right.
But if teachers overload students with tasks and grades, continuous assessment can become very stressful.
So there should be a balance, right?
Yeah.
Feedback should feel like support.
Support. Okay, at Pyramid PC says about the content. Isn't it too tedious to assess something? The students are probably just going to memorize. I think it will depend on how content we're talking in the first place. For example, if the students learn something by connecting it with prior knowledge, they won't memorize as much.
I actually have a story about that. If I remember correctly, since many years ago, I had a teacher in elementary school that used a similar way to teach us how a cell works. So she compared the core of the cell to the major of a city. She compared the membrane to the walls around the city and the ribosomes to the factories.
Ooh. So she made you, she compared something you knew with a new topic. I love that. That's interesting.
It's a good example.
Really?
So now at Adriana No Energy, how funny, asks which aspect of learning cannot be assessed just with a written exam?
Well, I think important aspects like, for example, teamwork or handling the materials cannot be assessed with a written exam. Also, things like participation or ethics can be left out. So it's important to have different methods of assessment. That way, it can be a more comprehensive and integral process.
And now the user Miss_not_live says, one of the quietest students in my class never participates and often seems uninterested. Could it be laziness or maybe something else?
I think there may be something else because that kind of negative attitude from the students is not simply bad behavior. It could reflect emotional difficulties, problems with their family, their environment. It could depend on many things,
Right. Observing students carefully allows teachers to understand when these attitudes appear and how they evolve over time. And this helps create a more human and comprehensive assessment process.
Yeah. I mean, instead of punishing them immediately, maybe you could try to talk with him first, build trust, or see what is happening first. Well, that's it, girls. I think we covered so many important ideas about what is assessment and how can it help to improve learning and teaching process. We have learned about the formative, the summative, the diagnostic assessment, as well as how you mentioned, Danieska, before, the proactive, the retroactive, and the proactive, interactive. Yeah. So, and more. That's it.
Yeah, so that's all for this session.
Yeah.
I have to say something. Para nuestros oyentes hispanos, recuerden que la evaluación no es solo calificar, es un proceso que mejora el aprendizaje y recuerden que es una oportunidad para que ustedes crezcan, no lo vean como un castigo o algo que les afectará, es algo que es necesario hacerse por su propio bien.
Exacto, la evaluación no tiene por qué ser algo negativo ni tiene por qué ser algo de tenerle miedo, es simplemente una herramienta que se da a lo largo de todo el proceso de aprendizaje. Y bueno, como dice Odalys, a la larga es lo mejor, ¿no? Y recuerden para los estudiantes no compararse con sus compañeros por las notas, cada uno tiene sus habilidades.
So, thanks everyone for this deep talk and see you in the next episode of the Assessment Lab. Bye!
Hablando de eso, chicas, les cuento que cuando yo estaba en el colegio había una profesora que solo calificaba cuantitativamente, porque para ella era inútil calificar cualitativamente. O sea, para ella era necesario que tú te compararas con tus compañeros las notas para mejorar.
Son profesores que están chapados en la antigua, o sea, uno pensaría, ay no, ya no existen, pero bueno, ¿sí?
Pero comparar a un estudiante con otro, eso es lo peor que pueden hacer. O sea, le están dañando el autoestima a un estudiante y enaltecer al otro.
Y también los dejan estudiar. O sea, ¿cómo vas a seguir como alimentando esa inseguridad de que, ay, no soy suficiente, tengo que dañar los horarios del sueño, cosas así,
Por ser esa
para
persona.
ser como él o mejor? No me parece.